Hi everyone, I'm Richard.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the Hitman beta running on PC. And this is using a Core i7 4790K. I think that's overclocked at 4.6 gigahertz. And yeah, two GPUs tested here, the classic GTX 970 and its AMD counterpart, which is the R9 390. So, interesting stuff here, Dave. To begin with, what settings are we running here?
We're basically running everything maxed out.
Right.
So we've got SMAA and 16x anisotropic filtering, and all the other settings are bumped up as high as they can go.
Okay, yeah. So it's quite interesting. In the original PlayStation 4 beta that came out last week, we noticed that the performance level was kind of variable, really, wasn't it?
It's interesting, we're actually seeing the same thing on the PC. Performance is pretty much all over the place in terms of frame rates, depending on the sort of situation you're in.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's one of the situations that you get running with an unlocked frame rate. You can see massive variations here, but in the case of Hitman on the PS4, it seemed to be the case that big crowds caused the biggest performance drops, and it seems to be the case, perhaps not surprisingly, that we see the same thing on the PC version.
Whenever you're in areas when there's a lot of NPCs and a lot of sort of AI processing going on, frame rates tend to get hit the hardest. One moment we're sort of hovering around 60 frames per second, and the next it's almost down to around 30. So it's pretty jarring during gameplay when you go through different parts of the same environment.
Yeah, and the thing is that obviously you could, in theory, put a frame rate cap on it, but you know, we're getting variances here from between 30 to 50 FPS. So again, similar to the PlayStation 4 version, we're getting a lot of frame rate variation here. There's no real consistency to it, and that's not really that good at all. And I guess the other thing we need to cover here is that once again, AMD has a significant performance advantage. I mean, I saw that in the Division beta that was released recently, and once again it seems to be the case here.
It is, yeah, and it translates to a smoother sort of gameplay experience in areas where frame rates are sort of uncapped and you're getting sort of above 60 frames per second. You can feel the difference when this is happening. It also means when both versions get hit harder, there's less stutter on the AMD card, even though both suffer from it when frame rates are sort of that erratic.
One thing I noticed from looking at the frame time readings there is that occasionally you get some stutter on the GTX 970. AMD actually seems to be pretty consistent here.
It's quite interesting. My theory behind it is perhaps that because it's developed as like a primary console experience, that they're maybe optimizing more for the AMD cards in this case.
Yeah, if you look at the documentation for the PS4 GPU in particular, it's all basically just a complete deep dive into the GCN architecture, so that may well be why we're seeing the likes of these big boosts for the likes of this game and the Division. But of course, NVIDIA does like to produce game-ready drivers, and well, we might well see a improvement in the final game, but that's not so far away. So it'll be interesting to see whether that sort of continues. Okay, if you enjoyed this analysis, do feel free to give us a like, but for the time being, that's all we've got for now. Thanks for watching.
And see you next time.